India is on a mission to become AtmaNirbhar, self-reliant. But can that happen without the participation of women? Considering women constitute nearly half of India's population, 48%. That's our focus on India Revival Mission on Times Network this week. I am Heena Gambhir. Over the next 30 minutes, we are going to talk to 4 wonderful women about how coronavirus has impacted their business and how they have still managed to turn this crisis into an opportunity. Joining us on the broadcast today is Priya Mohan, Startup Sensei, Venture Highway. We have with us Neha Kant, who is founder Clovia, Kirti Poonia, head Okhai, and Divya Laroya, co-founder My Healthcare. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here on India Revival Mission. Kirti, I want to talk to you about the kind of impact that you saw, especially during coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown period specifically in your business and the challenges that you faced.
So March was when it hit us, and I think hit all of us in India. The first reaction of all the companies was that, warehouses were going to close, dispatches were going to close, advertising was pulled down. But then we realized that people were buying and people were still shopping online. And being an online business had a huge advantage, because even people who were not used to buying from a website and they were used to buying in a physical store were now going to experiment buying online. And I remember the first few days, a lot of other organizations like Okhai, who also work with handmade apparel, they were struggling because there were crores of inventory locked up. Orders up until November were cancelled by physical stores, and they had nowhere to sell their inventory. So we'd known each other, all of us, for many months and years now. And we said, why not share this platform with other artisan groups? So brands, artisan groups from the remotest parts of India, we started doing video calls with them, and we started teaching them how to make Excel sheets, take photographs of their products and upload them online. And I remember in the start of March, April, June, we used to launch one artisan group a week. And now we're almost launching one artisan group every day. So we were about 2,300 women at the start of COVID, and now we're a group of 23,000 women artisans. So it has been fantastic for Okhai per se. In the thought of helping others, we have grown, and a sense of sisterhood has formed in our industry, where we're no longer fighting against each other or working against each other, but really working together. If I talk about individual artisans, I remember everyone was fundraising for relief during the start of the pandemic, and I called one of our leading artisans, Rami Ben, and I said, Ki, Rami Ben, is there a problem in our village also? Do we need to raise funds for food? So she said, I don't think so, but let me check with all the women and get back to you. And she came back after a few hours and she said that, no, हमें बिल्कुल भी relief work नहीं चाहिए. हमारे पास Okhai की savings है that we have been saving for all these years, and none of them had to sort of do anything apart from their savings that they had for so many years and the work that they were now getting at home, so they could also work from home. And this really brought such a sense of satisfaction that we've been doing something right in the last few years.
Okay, that's very interesting and very inspiring as well. Neha, if you could also tell us a little bit about your business and the kind of challenges that you faced, especially during the lockdown period.
Well, of course, during lockdown, revenue suddenly went down to zero, and we had about 3,000 karigars at that time working with us, and 400 plus of our own workforce who were looking up to us as to what the outlook is going to be. So those were stressful times, but I think we were very, at that time we didn't know, but then eventually we were very well placed in terms of being a digital first brand, and also a lingerie and a loungewear brand. Post-COVID, the whole scenario changed, and with work from home, people were looking more for casual clothing, and innerwear is always something that women needed. So we were very, very well placed, and as soon as lockdown started to lift from May onwards, we saw a surge of demand, and but we saw everything from the filter of COVID from that point on. So all our promotions, marketing communication, customer communication had that sensitivity of COVID being built up. All our product launches, all our product design concepts again were thought from the point of view that our customer is now not stepping out, and we took safety of our workers and our customers, we kept it at the paramount, and therefore so a lot of things changed, but they changed for they
Was our pre-COVID numbers of February sometime in July, and today our revenues are at 100% growth rate from when 2020 started.
Okay, very interesting. Divya, tell us a little bit about your business and the kind of challenges that you had to face, especially during the lockdown period, and how the situation is right now.
So, my healthcare, Hina, as you know, is a digital healthcare platform, and we work very closely with hospitals, doctors, clinics, and their caregivers in improving patient engagement and providing a digital care continuum to all our patients. So, for us, the lockdown was actually something which made us change our product roadmap completely. When we had started, we had known that virtual consults would be somewhere down the pipeline, right? It was part of our product journey, it was part of our platform, but adoption was never very high at that point. So it was something that we had thought we would build on later. But suddenly when the lockdown hit us in March, overnight we had to shift from an environment where we are a young startup. We are 2 years, turning 3 now. And we need to work very closely with our teams in a very collaborative manner because each one has to bring a certain skill set. It's a clinical platform at the end of the day. And I remember we had to have these emergency meetings with the senior management team to see how do we pivot because this was something totally unexpected. Nobody in their wildest dreams had even thought that something like this could come about. So I remember our teams immediately went into a work from home and we changed our roadmap to say the focus became virtual consults. You know, according to the FICCI report I was reading the other day, it said that OPD consults had dropped by 80%. So all our clients who were actually hospitals suddenly had no footfall. So for them and for the senior consultants, COVID created another situation where it would have been a risk for them, both in terms of age and as super specialists, to be interacting with patients. So as a team, I remember it was, I don't know where days and nights went in us building the platform. Within 3 weeks, we were rolling out a virtual consult platform which met the compliance requirements and, which would be easy enough for doctors who are really not very adept at technology, if I may say so. It has to be an easy enough platform for them. So we launched our virtual consult, My Healthcare virtual consult platform. And while the adoption from patients was interestingly high, from doctors it took some amount of convincing. And then, as times have gone by or over the next few months, we found that, yes, doctors were coming back because it was easy for them to use. I think mindset has changed a lot. If I look back from where we started in April and where we are today, the numbers on the telemedicine space have increased like something like 300%. So it's been a phenomenal rise. Obviously, revenues from different avenues or the pre-planned avenues have been impacted, but because we were able to pivot very, very quickly and, work in this space, definitely it helped us to be able to survive. It also helped us bridge and I think propel a new acceptance which has come about across all age groups for telemedicine. And the government came out with the telemedicine guidelines along with Niti Aayog and the Medical Council of India by March 2020, which really helped. So in all these years in the past, this was something which was always under discussion. But the speed at which it was rolled out in March, and now when you look at it, they have these guidelines which have come out for separate specialties as well. That is definitely going to add an impetus to healthcare as a sector in the industry, even post the pandemic. So it's definitely been good because, like I said, that adoption from both the clinician's perspective as well as patients across age groups. It's not just the younger generation who are used to interacting or, using digital media, but more from even patients who are in the 50 plus age group. There has been a phenomenal increase in numbers and adoption from their side as well. So yes, in a way, I think the pandemic, while it's been an extremely challenging time, it has really fast-forwarded certain aspects of the healthcare sector.
In fact, hasn't it accelerated a lot of things that, we all had to do in our life? For example, getting onto the digital platforms, everything was being planned, but suddenly everything is on phone now, everything is happening digitally. Isn't it, Priya?
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. Yes, I think it's very interesting because I get to see this in a very vicarious manner. I'm a founder who turned VC recently. It's been a 2-year journey in the VC space for me. Boy, am I glad that I'm not in the founder's shoe during the pandemic, because I don't know how I would have reacted. I was just hearing Divya talk, and agility is completely important from the startup side. To answer your question, yes, I think there has been a fair amount of behavioral change from customers, right? And some of it is forced, and it's shrunk the time. COVID has actually shrunk the time for digital adoption. And you're seeing the effects of it in areas such as commerce, social commerce, like Divya said, telemedicine, and edtech, which is booming. So I think lockdowns, schools not functioning, inability of people to go out freely has accelerated digital consumption. What's also happening is there's a change in consumer behavior due to that. And what I mean by that is, think of it, people who always had, the need to go out to a grocery store and had to buy groceries. Today, when they had lockdown and, they're running short of groceries, they're forced to kind of at least evaluate and see if they're able to order online. And what this does is it actually takes a certain percentage of these consumers and shows them the convenience of digital adoption. So for some of them, this behavior is likely to stay. But I always, when startups come and pitch to us, it's also important to think and model out consumer behaviors post-COVID as well. To give you an example, in the case of education, right, things will change when schools open, right? Travel will come into play. The hours available in the kids will go down, in the hands of the kids will go down. Then how does the behavior of this digital adoption change? So you're right. Definitely there's a, increase in digital adoption. There will be a change in consumer behavior, but it'll be interesting to see when things go back to normal, what percentage of the audience continue to stick to it. And that's for the future to tell.
Priya, if I may just add to what you
Priya,
were saying.
you were yes.
So sorry,
yes,
I was just adding to what Priya was saying, that in terms of consumer behavior, post the pandemic, what is interesting is that a lot of feedback that we got from patients who were actually using the video consult platform was that the convenience of it, the travel time that they were saving, the wait time that they were saving, sitting outside a doctor's room, the fear of picking up infections when you may just need to avoid hospitals, or even the availability of healthcare, which was available later in the day. It's interesting because when I look at the kind of bookings that we are getting, there are late night consults that happen on a daily basis, which means post 9 p.m. doctors are still available. And I think that comes from a working day. That, you finish your working day and it's convenient for you to connect with a doctor online at 9:30 at night, maybe 10 p.m. at night. I also find classes like in the edtech space that you're saying, tuitions or extracurriculars, music classes. I never thought that would be possible, but that has moved to be online space. And in fact, my feeling as a parent would be that, post the pandemic, I would still prefer to continue a lot of classes online, because just by saving the logistics on travel and, saving on time in that sense. So, yes, I think there have been some very, very good behavioral changes that have come about.
Now, of course, government has got a lot of special programs for lending for women. Why is there a need? Is it because in the normal ways it's not happening?
So actually, I'll answer it in two parts. Let's first address, the reason why there is a need to include women. And then there are two categories in that, right? Like one is probably at the MSME and other, self-help group kind of areas. And then, come to areas such as investment banking or venture capital or even women founders, right? It's just amazing we have 3 other women founders in this panel. Let me just talk about the area I know better, which is my theories on why there are very few women in these areas. And I think 3 main reasons, right? I think we need to increase the top of the funnel. When I say increase the top of the funnel, the number of women who are hired, at least in venture capital space, if you see the ratio of, the number of women versus men who are hired even at the entry-level position. And, because if you don't have that funnel, then the number of people who can grow into partners and principals obviously reduces. The second thing is, VC is a long-term game. So how do you get people to get comfortable with lateral hiring? How can you include diversity as a strategy in recruitment? And this doesn't apply only to VCs. I'm talking about companies, right? Like at a CXO level, at a senior position level, how do you actually have diversity as a strategy? And, one of the things, it's interesting in so many boards, and I'm sure you would have heard in so many of your panel discussions, women represent 50% of everything, right? But what are we doing about it, right? And how do we kind of, at a very basic level, if we all agree that there's a different perspective, there's a different execution style, there's a different energy, there's a different empathy that we bring to the table, then it's just at best an important opportunity for businesses to include women so as to just score on that extra opinion, extra decision-making power. So those are my theories on that. Now, why is there an extra stimulus needed for women?
Very interesting.
Because, thank you. Why is there an extra stimulus needed for women? I think stimulus is needed both tangible as well as intangible, right? Tangible is easy to achieve, right? Like you said, lending, you see that in, let's start with the microfinance, right? The whole self-help group of women, the whole Mohammed Yunus thing. I mean, at that level, if you see the ability of women to budget at the smallest amount, right? I mean, you can see women running their households at 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, right? Their ability to budget, run the families, they're very tight with cash, they're entrepreneurial. So that whole microfinance space or the self-help group use that aspect of women, right? Now, come to the entrepreneur space. It's just the access or the ability of women to get the kind of access to capital compared to men, unfortunately, is much lesser, right? Because I start with network.
Absolutely.
How many of the women today?
That's the reason why. Right. That's the reason why, it's important to change that perception as well. I think Kirti also wanted to make a point. Yes, Kirti.
So I now have 2 points to make. The first one, I wanted to add to the changing patterns. While we all saw a shift towards digital experiences, I can tell you right now, and you'll see this evolve until March, people are craving physical experiences. And we've started to see across social media, there's a drop of usage. People want to go out. And so for brands and for companies, there is going to be yet another shift where all your energies have been focused towards digital and online experiences and sales. And now we need to re-alter the course to figure out they're no longer going to buy home products. I mean, not in the quantity that they bought last year. They want to go out. They want to have something real and outdoors. And the second point, I think, to the discussion on women in business, and I want to share, it's scientifically proven that women are actually mentally very strong, right? They have a lot of mental resilience. And men have a lot of physical resilience. And what do you need to run a business? You need a lot of mental resilience. So they do have an advantage. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Neha, now I also want to ask you, do you think the way society has got, very specific roles for women? For example, a woman can be in a certain kind of business, but they are not acceptable in certain kind of businesses. So how do you think one can really make changes in those kind of perceptions?
One thing I've come to realize is that gender biases are deep rooted in our country. And a lot of time it's not just the men who are biased against us, even women are biased against themselves, thinking what we can or we cannot do or what she can and she cannot do. So I think it's all in the mind and you've got to break it. I don't see any sector, whether it's related to science or creativity or sports, where women cannot break free. So that's one, argument I don't buy, that men do different things and women can do different things. I think that doesn't really count in my opinion. And also I feel that Indian society, the way we are structured, it gives a lot of support. I think Indian women are uniquely placed to leverage the way family system is structured in India. Joint family system, parents being there to support their kids. So as a mother, for example, I know that I've been able to do so much because my parents supported me with and helped me with raising my child. I think I would tell all women to not just shy away and not blame the family system of India, but make advantage of it or take advantage of it.
Actually, can I make a point here?
All right. Yes, very quickly.
I'm a living example of this, right? So the first 5 years of running my startup, I did Bangalore to Chennai in Shatabdi for literally 3 or 4 days a week. So when my daughter was 1.5, 2, there was this mom and me program which my husband had to take her. And I remember the school constantly reminding. I think one of the first things I realized, and, women, most of us are the harshest on ourselves. I think before others make a judgment, we make a judgment on ourselves. I think it's okay to stick by our choices. So, for example, I went through this entire phase of being guilty that I was not there during my child's early childhood. She turned out okay, right? My husband raised her okay. We did this together as a unit. I think take all the support without feeling guilty, right? It's always, I feel like we take it as if somebody is doing us a favor. Nobody is doing us a favor. Families are a unit. I would have done this had my husband done the back and forth from Bangalore to Chennai. I think he did it for me. So I think the first thing I would say is it needs to start within ourselves, that it's okay to accept vulnerability. It's okay to take help. It's okay not to judge ourselves so harshly.
All right. I think those were some wonderful stories we got to hear on this edition of India Revival Vision. I thank all my guests for joining us here on this special broadcast. Thank you very much.